Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, about 3:30. I'm way later than I had hoped to be today. There's a story to that. You may not even be interested in my story, but we're just now getting back from Greenville. I had an 11:30 oil change appointment. I figured, plenty of time, but not so much, especially since you get there and you find out that all the techs have gone to lunch at 11:30, and I had an appointment. I was not just a walk-in. So we sat there and waited for them to come back to lunch, from lunch, because we were there, and if we had left, we might not have been first in line when we came back, and we're just kind of stubborn that way sometimes. So anyway, here I am, 3:30, doing my Facebook Live. So this is card number 4 from June's class. Let me turn my volume down over here so I'm not echoing. That looks pretty good. I'm going to turn this just a little bit so that you see more of my workspace. So I promised that I would kind of do these cards out over a little bit longer time so you get to see how they're made. This one is really simple. It uses the Sweetest Cherries Bundle, which is a stamp set and a punch. That's really stamping at its easiest and simplest, and this one is no exception. I have seen some really cute cards. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is the card. I think we're going to make it be the thank you for being so sweet card, instead of wishing you a sweet birthday. I gave my ladies the option of making a thank you or a birthday, because a lot of us don't need that many thank you cards, but we always need birthday cards. So, all right. The card kits had a piece of crumb cake that's cut at 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. This is a landscape card. The piece of designer series paper is out of the host pack of paper. Let me see if I can pull it right quick. That is called Design a Daydream. I'm pretty sure that's correct. It is correct. This is a huge pack of paper. Can you see that? You get 48 sheets. Yes, 48 sheets of a huge variety of papers. I'm not even going to try to show you all of them. I have not made a display board with it, which would be the easy way to show you the fronts and backs. So the piece that's layered on the front is cut at 4 by 5 1/4, kind of our typical mat for the front of a card. It's a neat way to kind of display the designer series paper, and you get a big piece of it. And this one has a lot of what we call white space, even though it's not white. I'm not sure that even rolled out. And y'all, I'm going to run out. Yep, it's getting right down to the, there you go. All right, so I'll show you how to change out your Stampin' Seal. The top comes off of it, and Stampin' Seal refill. Nothing makes me more unhappy than opening a package that is the whole thing. The case and the tape, when all I want is the refill, because I've got a perfectly good case to put this in. So it just lifts right out. Of course, that one's still got the sticky And there's posts back here and in the middle that your refill just fits right in. Then you just match up the shapes, push it back together, and you are good to go. Let me make sure I've got enough. So mount that on there with just the same amount of edge all the way around. Now let's work on our cherries. This is the inside piece, and it's not the traditional 4 by 5 1/4, which kind of threw everybody for a loop. It's a little bit smaller. Well, of course that one doesn't have it. Neither does that one. But you're only going to put one word in there because we're going to do the sweet. So there was a piece for the sentiment. There's a piece to punch out, and this is Parakeet Party to punch out the leaves. We're going to use the punch. The Baker's Twine, the piece of Poppy Parade that we're going to punch the cherries out, and the circle that we're going to mount the cherries on. So I always try to give you a big enough piece to hold on to without being very wasteful. I made it a little wider than it actually needed to be because all I want is the cherry. I don't really need all this other stuff that's going to also punch. Extra little pieces. So let me get them out of the way. So we have our cherries. And in here there's a piece of early espresso. And all we need is the stem. So I've got it centered. So I can punch a stem. And of course I'm going to get some of the over punch there. And then the leaves. So, and I like working from the bottom like this because you can see where you're stamping, and you can see if you're gonna, you know, punch something you don't want to punch or have extra. And that piece was big enough. I had what I call a handle, something to hold on to. On our cherries, you may notice that the edges are a little bit darker. There are 2 ways you can accomplish that. You can, what I did on this one is I just took my piece of cherry and I just drug it in the ink pad. But what I'm going to do on video is show you how I had my ladies do it. Have a sponge dauber, and I'm going to ink it up, and I'm just going to brush some color on the edges of these cherries. You know, cherries aren't all perfectly the same color. So I'm just gonna sponge some on there. Doesn't have to be perfect. No really rhyme nor reason to it. Just to add some definition to the edges. I didn't want to get too creative and try to do it in the middle or make one side highlighted or anything. And while I have this out, let's see if I can find the wishing you. Yep. Nope, I'm going to do thank you for being. I've got all kinds of stamps running around here. They're still in the tub from the class. All right, thank you for being. So, here's the one that we're making. Sweet. Sweet. Eye that up. Yep. And today I'm going to use my chamois to clean the red off. I don't like putting red on my scrubber because then everything I clean after that ends up red. I'm going to close this for right now. I'm not going to stamp the inside just yet. So I have a choice. I can leave this straight. I can slant it. I don't think I'm going to slant it. I can flag it. You know what? I have a new punch. Let's see if I can add that detail. I don't want to mess up my words now that I have them stamped. It's going to be close. You know how I can tell? Because when you work from the bottom, see the red that's showing up? Don't think I'm going to do that. And if I use this one, it cuts it at a diagonal. And that would be all right, but I don't want to do that. I think I'm just going to leave it. Or, I say that and then I'm like already thinking. So what if I just barely flagged it on one end? Remember, I went about halfway between the corners. Then I'm gonna, and I notched, nicked it up or cut a little. See, that's just enough for some detail. All right. So I have die cut one of the circles from the, and I'm not going to remember the name of that set of dies. There are 3 different shapes. There are circles, squares, and some flags. Never fear. Keep a catalog near. See if I can find it. Stylish shapes. See, there are 4 squares, 6 circles, and then 4 little flags. That's a very practical, useful, since they retired a lot of our circle punches. So we're just going to build our cherries. Oh, I needed a second. I'm not going to have a piece there. A second early espresso stem. Have no fear. I have parts. I have pieces. Let's see if it's in the box. I don't think there was an extra one in the box, but I'll show you my scrap box. See, I keep scraps. And this is when these scraps come in very handy. Of course, I'm probably not going to have early espresso. I've got other colors of brown. I'm just going to kind of rifle through here and see what I can find. I hate to get up and get a big old piece. Is that early? I think that is chocolate chip, actually, which is long ago retired. But I'm holding on to that because I just have a feeling that one might come back. They've done that with 1 or 2. Well, I may have to get up. I don't think that's... That is early espresso. Now all I gotta do is stick it in here. Doesn't matter which end I use. And I'm gonna end up with a leaf, but it is what it is. Put that back in my box for next time. So I need to pay attention to how I put this one on because I want them to touch each other in the middle. Make sure you can see that. And I'm just putting my glue dot under the thickest part of this stem. And then I'm just going to layer that up. I think today I'm going to put one of my cherries on dimensional. Just to give it a little oomph. They had an option. They could do that. And therefore on this one I can just use Stampin' Seal. Because it's just going to be directly adhering to the circle. So for this, the most important is the fact that the stems cross just a little bit. And I think I'll use another glue dot. And even though that is on dimensionals, I'm going to stick that glue dot on top, because sometimes that gives it more dimension to adhere it flat on one end and leave it kind of standing up on another. And then the bow. I think I gave you a long enough piece to tie a double bow. I've gotten to where I really like the double bows. You just, visually, it's bulkier and more substantial, which kind of helps add some oomph to your project. I don't want it super gigantic. I'll trim those when I get it stuck down, because I'm going to use another glue dot to stick my bow on. It helps kind of tame this bow down. You can get it to stick in the direction that you want it to stick. And how I make sure that they're kind of the same length is I'll gather them up together, kind of like getting your hair cut. Gather it up together. And so, isn't that cute? And I think I'm just going to put it down flat instead of on dimensionals, because I do want my little label to be on dimensionals. A little bit of an angle. And this card is pretty simple, pretty easy. We haven't done the inside yet because I want you to see that, and the envelope, because this one, the envelope gets a little special treatment too. And layer that on there. The decorative elements are the decorative matte dots. I ended up with a ton of these, so I use them at every chance I get. I just have to figure out what color do we want to use. I really think I might want the red ones. Where's my... So let's put a big one down here. And a little one right there. And a big one right there. Oh yeah, that just kind of pops. Thank you for being so. And I want to stamp this before I stick it down. Put this away. Get it out of our way. Oh, the lovely Sweet Sorbet. You know, I think I told you that was Poppy Parade, the cardstock. It's not, it's Sweet Sorbet. And since you're going to want to have some room to write your thank you, put that, clean it off on my Stampin' Chamois. And yes, those are going to forever be red because that was the color. So you can put it in an angle. I have a hard time doing that, or stamping on the angle. And I like to put a little bit at the top and the bottom. My card's falling apart. So if you put it a little higher, then you've got room, you know, if you go off, if you write a very lengthy thank you. Okay, just that. And then you may have noticed on this card, we stamped a cherry. Stamp it that direction. okay if it's not solid. No one is giving us a grade. We're not getting paid to make it perfect. And I kept the stem, put it on a block so I can add the stem to my front cherry. And just kind of tie that up wherever you would like for it to end up. There you go. We have a decorated card and a cute thank you note. Thank you for being so sweet. I appreciate your time. I have one more card, and I'm going to go ahead and get that ready and try something different, because you know you've got to always be learning and growing and trying new things. So I'll keep you in suspense, but I appreciate your time, and I'll see you next time. Hey Elaine, I didn't see you were watching until I stood up, and I see Elaine is watching. Thanks for watching. It didn't show that on my laptop, but I have my iPhone on the stand and my laptop to the side, so I'll be talking to y'all later. Bye.